Hello, SLAE family. I'm really thrilled to be here with a very, very special guest today. And I think it's something that so many of us can relate to and learn from her today. So with us today, I have the one and only Mary Faith Ferretto. She is the owner and president of Ferretto Eldercare Consulting. So if you happen to have a family member, spouse, parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, or anybody who is approaching the age where maybe their needs change as they enter into the senior years, this is going to be an insanely informative conversation for you. And you will probably be saying what I said, where were you years ago? I wish I had known you. I think she hears that all day. So we will begin, if you wouldn't mind taking a minute and maybe sharing with us your background and how you got into forming this company. It's just fascinating.
Sure. Well, my background is social work. I have a master's from University of Maryland. And I immediately after school just dove into the elder arena and never left. It was just that comfortable that I thought this is what I'm supposed to do. So, and I'm a native Baltimorean. So just over the years, the various positions that I held really helped me move on and move up, and had a lot of experience working in medical settings like and mental health, adult day, home care, hospice. And so really it came to the point where I felt like I was very prepared to launch my solo business. And it didn't stay solo very long because again, just having a lot of contacts locally, it really flew very easily. But all those experiences I had in different settings really prepared me for care management, because it really is using all of those contacts and skills and just the history, So it served me well when I started my business in 2008.
Fantastic. And can you tell everybody what the services are that you provide? Because it's a wide range and extraordinarily helpful.
Yes, it is a wide range, and no two people are exactly the same. So we always do a really solid job of triaging on the phone. That's free, just to get a handle on what's going on and what are the concerns and why are you calling us now. But the services we provide always are based on an assessment, and what's going on determines what type of assessment we do. But then we can make recommendations. We give folks short lists. We can advocate for services and benefits. Our service can often help save money in another area because we see duplication and things like that. So we advocate, we mediate, we educate, a lot of those skills to based on what the person's needs are. So sometimes it's an emergency, say someone had a very recent serious health change. Other times, and we're seeing this more and more, folks are calling ahead of the time of need, and they want to plan for their own needs later on, which we just love. In fact, we're offering a service now called Smart Plans, and they are for those folks that want to think ahead and plan ahead. So we do an assessment at that time, answer lots of questions because those folks bring in their questions. And then we tell them what's out there. We give them short lists of anything. And then we ask them to come back in a year. And so every year we're updating, and, unless there's a serious issue that's going on, and then they certainly, are able to come in sooner. But we're just finding that those boomers don't want to do their aging plan the way their parents did.
Or did
so
not.
It's very refreshing. Yeah. Very refreshing.
Or did not do in many cases.
Or did not do. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So people could come to you, for example, if there is somebody who has, mobility issues, someone who has maybe early dementia,
Yes.
all kinds of different things, whether it's physical or whether there are mental challenges as people age. You kind of handle the scope of all of that, correct?
We really do. And we even serve younger folks with disabilities. So the youngest client we've served was 18, and who had a lifelong disability. And we were helping his parents plan for his needs later on. and I would say the other clients were probably 100 plus. So
Wow.
it really is a wide spectrum of the folks that we serve. And so, each one has their own plan of care. And then, we tweak it as we go forward. So,
That's amazing. I didn't know that you helped youth as well. So,
well, it's not typical, but we have served some that young in their 20s, with issues like traumatic brain injury or CP, cerebral palsy, things like that. We work with a lot of other professionals, including trustees. So sometimes these younger folks that have issues, there's a fund, there's a trust set
Sure.
up for them so that they'll have whatever they need. So it really does, there's a lot of variation. But I'd say the majority of our clients are elders,
Yes.
over 60, and sometimes in a crisis, and sometimes just the family thinking that they're getting close to a crisis.
Yes.
And they want to do something for safety and well-being.
So you have a lot of options on the table.
Mhm.
I think one of the decisions so many people face is whether it's a spouse or a parent, whatever the situation is,
Mhm.
does this person stay in their home?
Right,
Does this person need to be in a different environment?
right.
And then there's different kinds of environment. There's independent living, there's
Mhm.
assisted living, but a lot of people don't know the distinctions with all of that. Would you take a minute
Right.
and clarify those?
Well, there's a wide range even within each of those categories, but independent living, basically, there's no caregiver coming in, although folks do live in independent settings and have just some light support come in.
Mhm.
But, a lot of folks are independent, and that's great. Some folks have downsized their large home into a condo, but they're still independent, but they just have less to take care of in their home. They don't have to deal with the snow and all that. So, there's a lot of independent types of settings. Assisted living there are 3 levels in assisted living, and a lot just depends on what is going on with that individual person. And the fees vary according, there's some smaller assisted living homes in a neighborhood. They are typically less expensive than the larger assisted living buildings, communities, and they offer a range of supportive services. So anytime somebody moves into an assisted living or later on a skilled nursing facility, a care plan is put together by those facilities. So, and we
Excellent.
are often asked to just to be the eyes and ears for the family if they're not here, or if they're here but they have a very busy life and they want an objective person to be keeping watch out for their loved one. So, the fees range, and then skilled nursing, which is the highest level of care, and that even has levels within it. But that is for folks that have more skilled care needs where they need more nursing oversight. So a lot of variety, and a lot of facilities, sometimes they offer all of those too. So if there's a thought that the person wants to just move and then not move out of that community, they can
Yes.
just transfer easily on to the next level. So there's a lot of communities, continuums
Yes.
like that.
So there's kind of, I guess there's stages, because sometimes people, I know like for us, we have a relative that we really want to keep in her home right now.
Mhm,
And so she's in her home, but she needs 24-hour care. So there's in care.
mhm.
And then, as you said, there's also people who go from, independent living, and in the same campus or facility, they can
Right.
shift over to assisted as their needs increase as well. Correct?
Right, right.
Okay.
So it's not a one size fits all, it's just really looking at the person, looking at what their goals are, their family's goals for them, the finances enter into it. But once we can get a handle on all that, and if the person has memory loss, and we'll do an assessment of their memory, then we just put all those pieces together, and then, have a couple options for the family, for the client to consider. And then they like to go and tour, and then, we just help them put it all together. many times we're called the hub on the wheel. So once we step in and do our assessment, then they might need an elder law attorney, they might need a move manager, they might need daily money manager. There's lots of other professionals that they might need. But typically we do the assessment first and then find out what needs are there. So
and then I'd love for you to take a minute, if you don't mind, and talk a little bit about the emotional piece, because again, whether it's a spouse or a parent or a grandparent or whatever the situation is,
right.
There's emotion tied to when someone has either a physical or mental decline. If they're in the home, there's the emotional aspect of that. If you do need to have the person go into a facility, there's the emotional piece of that. And you network around and support that part for the family as well.
We do tap into their caregiving experience. We want to know, what they're doing for their loved one, where they're having challenges. We always give our caregivers permission to have respite in their life. They need to refresh themselves. It's not a thing to be guilty about, because when you invest in the caregiver, you're investing in their family member. So their family member's better when they're healthy. And we don't want to see them go down, because then the options, are less. So it definitely is important to let people know that it's okay to ask someone to come in while they're out with friends for lunch, or whatever the case may be. They caregivers really need to fortify themselves, and so that they can come back and do some more. So yeah, we talk a lot about just caregiver health.
And I think one of the other things is, as people have more awareness of dementia, particularly Alzheimer's, that form of it, that oftentimes in certain stages of that, we've experienced it ourselves with some family members, there can be a lot of, anger coming out of the person who's suffering. And obviously they're not in a place where they understand what they're doing, but that can be really difficult for a family member to have someone they love yell at them, not trust them, all of that.
Absolutely. It's heartbreaking, really, that this, like you said, dementia just really changes their loved one. And it's very hard. I've facilitated caregiver support groups a lot over the years, and that's a great way to just hear how other people are in the same shoes they are, how they're doing it, just share tips and things to avoid. They're all in the same boat. And it's amazing how those groups can become like another family to a caregiver. And they really do say that, it's so helpful in their journey to hear from other people and support each other. So
that's the goes in the department of, boy, I wish I knew you years ago. The first time we were exposed to a family member who had dementia, there was all of a sudden this hostility that was uncharacteristic of the person. And I didn't know what to do. So I actually bought some books. I didn't know there was somebody like you or support groups. So, and as I read the books, I was like, oh, this is what's happening. But having that connection with other people has got to be just so crucial.
It is, and they're free, which is another good thing. And you can just work with your peers, basically get reinforced by your peers. So it's a great modality for sure. Yeah, and the dementia is, like you said, it's just they become another person so many times, and people have to process that and talk about it and grieve. It is a loss. Their body is still there with us, but their personality often changes. But also, if there are issues going on like you described, sometimes we recommend them getting a full medical workup to make sure that it's not something else going on, especially if the change happens so quickly. Sometimes there's an infection going on, sometimes if there's dehydration. So you want to rule out the medical things and then focus on what's left, and ways to stimulate their loved one and provide structure. We all want to stay home as long as we can, but for somebody with memory loss, it can be an advantage to being in a setting that cares for just that, because there are programs and activities, and they're all stimulating their minds, so they can be the highest level they can be. And adult day services works the same way, where you go for the day, and just a lot of stimulating activity and socialization and nursing oversight, and then you go home. So it's almost the best of many worlds.
Yeah, that's really a great way to resolve the battle of handling both of those pieces of
Right,
it.
right. It combines all the best of the care continuum out there. They've certainly had a difficult time during COVID because
Yes.
they've been closed, so many of them, it's hard. But in healthy times, they can often postpone the time when a person needs to move.
Yeah, so many of us during COVID couldn't even, visit with people that were older.
Heartbreaking. Yeah.
Very
Heartbreaking.
heartbreaking. Yes.
Yeah.
So I know you are this just wealth of kindness and information and helpfulness, but not everybody lives here in Maryland. So,
Right.
there are people who will see this, and they're either going through this or about to go through this, and they're trying to figure out, how do I even know what's the best thing to do?
Right.
How do I know what is affordable? So if someone's watching and they're not in Maryland, there are some tips that you can give us today, please, on how to, where do they start?
Right. When we hear that a caller is not from the Central Maryland area and we can't serve them, we look to our nonprofit professional organization, which is Aging Life Care, the Association for Life Care Management. And so we can do a search on that website, aginglifecare.com, and locate some folks in their area, in their community. And we also have annual conferences. So I do know people in other states, but if I don't, I can do a search and locate someone in their area that they can learn. They can talk about the local resources and just have a local advocate. So we have a lot of families. They're at a distance, and sometimes it's a challenge. But if their loved one is not here, we can definitely point them in a good direction.
And I have to publicly thank you, because we have family out in California right now, and you helped us because we didn't know what to do, because that person was not wanting to come to the East Coast. They don't like the snow. They don't like the cold. They want anything to do with the East Coast.
Right.
So you were very helpful to us, and I want to thank you for that. And you have been incredible at helping so many people.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad we were helpful. We see families at a distance a lot, and even some adult children in other countries, in the service or just living somewhere else. And it brings them comfort to know that there's someone with their loved one who can report to them, not report, but, can share observations and just keep them in the loop so they don't worry. So,
yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Now, would you mind giving out your website too, so people could check out your website, please?
Sure. It's www.ferrettoeldercare.com, and Ferretto is F like Frank, ERRETTO. And we're happy to assist if anyone needs a professional in another area, or because of the COVID, we've worked virtually in many cases, and all of us, I think, have learned other ways to provide consulting besides being, in the same space as their loved one. So we've gotten very creative over the COVID, sadly. But there's always consulting, or, whatever you need, whatever the person needs, an assessment with recommendations, a plan of care. So, and our national organization is, they do a serious amount of vetting of new members. So you can be sure that folks that are in this organization are truly experienced and have the credentials to do what we do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it makes such a difference, especially in the long distance situation, if you
Mhm.
feel great about who's
Yep.
caring for your loved one.
Right.
It's a whole nother world. Well, I'm
Right.
very excited. We're going to post your website below this interview. And also, some people will watch this on YouTube. Some people watch this
Mhm.
in the Facebook group. If you are in the Facebook group, she has joined the Facebook group. So that's another way to communicate. You can post comments or questions
Mhm.
while you watch this over the next few days. And I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing to really look out for the elderly. It's just fantastic, the service you provide, because you're not only helping them, but you're helping the family members that are really
Mhm.
struggling with how to take care of someone they love.
Well, thank you. It's really a labor of love for us. All of us, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have a passion for it. So that's the common thread in all of us.
And you truly have a calling from it right out of the gate. That's where you focused for years and years
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Hmm.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. We will post all of that.
Hmm. Thank you.
And
My pleasure.
yes, so it's great to have you here. Thank you. So that is Mary Faith Ferretto. She is just an angel to take care of the elderly. We're so happy to have her today.
Mm.